As many of you are aware, airsoft has been under attack here in the U.S. for some time. As you may know, there have been restrictions that have already passed in the states of New York and California. And in my home state of Maryland, there was a statewide effort last year to restrict airsoft guns, which we defeated. Lately, you may have been hearing news about a proposed law in Baltimore banning all replica guns within city limits. Specifically, the law says no person may own, carry, or possess a replica gun in the city of Baltimore. The law defines a replica gun as a toy, imitation, facsimile, or replica pistol, revolver, shotgun, rifle, air gun, BB gun, pellet gun, machine gun, or simulated weapon, which, because of its color, size, shape, or other characteristics, can reasonably be perceived as a real firearm. This proposed law concerned a great many of my customers that live in the Baltimore area because airsoft guns can easily come under the definition set by this law. Now, aside from the fact that, as a rule, I oppose legislation of this kind, initially when I heard about the law, I had some mixed feelings. First of all, no thinking person should ever venture into a populated area with anything that resembles a gun. And no parent worth his weight in dirt should let an unsupervised minor have an air gun ever. You cannot give a kid a BB gun and just cut him loose. You're just asking for it. Now, my business is not located in Baltimore city limits, so we would not be directly affected by this law. And even though we're right next door to Baltimore, I personally avoid going across the city line at all costs because of the number of murders and mayhem and the kind of stuff that Baltimore has become renowned for. Recently, Forbes magazine ranked Baltimore in the top 10 most dangerous cities in the U.S. This proposed law stems from an incident earlier this year when a 14-year-old boy was shot by a Baltimore City detective when he refused to drop the BB gun he was openly carrying. The good news is that the boy was not killed in the incident. The bad news is that he was allowed by his parent to leave the house with a BB gun in the first place. The irony of this incident being the catalyst for this new legislation is that Baltimore already has laws that prohibit minors from having BB guns in the city of Baltimore. So he already broke one law. The question is, would having a second law might have avoided this incident? My primary objection is that, aside from the media painting the problem of kids being shot for having toy guns as being some kind of epidemic, in reality these kinds of incidents are extremely rare. Honestly, more kids died from eating lead paint in Baltimore, so why are we wasting time and money on useless legislation? The answer is, quite frankly, that passing laws like these gives the illusion that the city is doing something to stop gun violence in Baltimore, rather than enforcing existing laws and getting real criminals off the street. So, after several concerned phone calls and emails from my customers, I decided to look into this new piece of proposed legislation a little bit closer. As part of the regular procedure for passing legislation, the ordinance must be reviewed by the city solicitor, who found that the law is preempted by a federal law that requires all replica guns have an orange tip at the time of purchase. Now, the federal law that I'm referring to that supersedes all state and local laws states that because of federal requirements that all replica guns sold in the U.S. have an orange tip affixed, no state or local laws or ordinances can be enforced that prohibit the sale of air guns. I believe that because of this federal preemption, we were able to defeat the proposed law on a state level earlier this year. It's also because of the federal preemption that the Baltimore City Solicitor recommended that the bill be amended to exclude all replica guns that are in compliance with the federal law, which is U.S. Code Title 15, Chapter 76, 5001, which, by the way, was adopted as an amendment into the language of the proposed Baltimore ordinance. Now, I'm no lawyer, but the way I interpret this is that if you own an airsoft gun that has the orange tip affixed to it, you are exempt from the proposed Baltimore City law. So leave the orange tip on your gun. Now, I also contacted the NRA regarding the law, and their position is that this ordinance is unenforceable. One of the great mysteries to me is how similar laws in New York and California can stand when they're clearly in violation of the federal law and should be struck down. The problem is you need to mount a legal challenge to these laws, which I imagine would cost a few bucks. I guess what we need is a business that profits from selling airsoft guns in California to take a more active role. E-Vike. Now, let me reiterate, I'm not a lawyer, and if I were you, I'd consult a legal professional before venturing into Baltimore with an airsoft gun. Furthermore, I would urge extreme caution to anyone venturing into a populated area with anything that could be construed as a weapon to take extreme measures to ensure that no one mistakes you for having a real weapon. All of this, of course, is one of the best reasons for coming to a facility like Replay Airsoft Arena, because we not only sell airsoft guns, but we also provide a safe environment where people can pursue the sport as well. Lastly, I'd just like to say a word to the people that are potentially affected by this kind of legislation, that the best kind of defense against this kind of frivolous legislation is to stop electing the people that propose it. Unfortunately, I live in an area where certain groups feel they owe blind allegiance to a particular party that's leading them down the garden path. Maryland has some of the most strict gun laws in the country. You can't even own a stun gun in Baltimore, and now they want to ban toy guns. Meanwhile, Wikipedia lists Baltimore as being in the top 20 highest murder rates in the world. You're safer in Baghdad than you are in Baltimore. The point is, all this legislation is just not working. We're being slowly disarmed, and crime rates are still going through the roof. But, you know, the good news is when I see the recent elections, it seems like the rest of the country gets it. But why in New York, California, and Maryland, the states with the highest crime rates, do we continue to support political candidates that are bent on disarming us? I always get into arguments with people on this point, but I believe that your rights to play airsoft are inextricably intertwined with your Second Amendment rights. You cannot support left-wing political candidates without damaging your right to own airsoft guns. It's a fact. The people that don't want you to have real guns don't want you to have toy guns either. As airsofters, we have to get more politically active, and I would urge anyone wishing to protect their rights to own airsoft guns to join the NRA. There is hope, though. When I look around at the people that come to Replay Airsoft Arena, I see a very diverse group of people from all walks of life that share a common bond of playing airsoft. The ironic thing is that if those same people get more politically active in supporting airsoft, they won't just save this sport, they may just save our country as well. If you'd like to find out more about Replay Airsoft Arena, check out our website at replayairsoft.com. And as usual, don't let the bastards get you down.